Hey, everybody, welcome to Text Request Talks, where we have conversations with business leaders about how they make things happen. Presented by Text Request, the business text messaging platform that lets you text from your office phone number directly on your computer or any other device so you can stop making phone calls and start actually getting responses. Learn more at textrequest.com. I'm Kenneth Burke, and today we're talking with Monica Feid, who is the co founder and chief operating officer for BizCom Associates. Monica, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Kenneth. I'm so glad to be here.
Hopefully, an easy question to start. Can you just tell us what BizCom does?
Yes, we are an expert agency at storytelling. About 90 days ago, I would have said we're a PR agency. We do PR, but we have expanded our services in a very intentional way, but all things storytelling to help our franchise clients grow.
So tell us about that expansion.
Right. Well, in case those out there don't know, BizCom Associates made a formal acquisition. And on February the 17th, we acquired Brand J, another agency in the franchise space. And we have combined our services to be one all in organization helping our clients to grow through PR. We still do PR, but we also do lead gen and video services and website design and content creation and personal branding. It goes on and on.
What was the driver for making that acquisition, or even taking a step back? Were you were you all thinking, yes, we need to acquire another agency, or was it a little more organic than that? It just happened to be these particular people you wanted to work with or own.
Yes and yes. Both
Okay.
things, actually, both things. I will say that over the years, we get leads, we get prospects coming to us in our previous life as a PR agency, thinking that they needed PR to grow their organization. And we were very skilled and adept at helping them with public relations, but it can't be a one-shot approach to growing your organization. It takes many moving parts in this day and age. And we would partner with other vendors like Brand J. We shared clients with Brand J in the past because we collectively knew that those clients, in terms of wanting to draw leads, wanting to get qualified leads, to grow their footprint, put more flags on the map, they needed PR, they needed, lead gen, they needed a redesigned website for franchise development, all those things working together. So we had this in mind. Did We tried to dip our toes into doing some of these things ourselves. Invariably, we would outsource pieces of that pie. But then when the opportunity came and presented itself, it was already such a natural fit that bringing Brand J under one umbrella just made all the sense in the world. And gosh, it's every day I'm just more and more excited about our capabilities.
I know a lot of business owners and leaders, especially in the franchise space, are pretty often thinking about buying and selling businesses. Um, was there any lesson in particular that stood out during this process, or was there anything that um, I don't know, maybe stands out as something you would recommend to others who are considering doing a similar transaction?
Yes, sometimes it makes sense to go out and just, acquire that skill set than to try to learn something from the ground up. And actually, over the years, we did not expect or have any like forethought that we're going to become this expert agency at serving umbrella companies. But to look at our roster, we kind of learned from the outside looking in at franchisors that brought complementary services together under an umbrella company. You can look at our roster and we have Neighborly and we have Best Life Brands and we have Bricks Holdings and Empower Brands, and they are serving a core customer but bringing more services to the table by acquiring like-minded franchise businesses. And so it was a happy accident that we kind of had the same point of view as a vendor serving those clients and that roster, wanting to bring more services to those customers.
So on the opposite end of the story, 24, almost 25 years ago, um, you'd already been, if I've got my details correct. You'd already been in marketing for a handful of years. You'd already been an account exec for a PR firm for a handful of years. And then you and a co-founder decided, hey, we should start this agency. Is that right? And what was the thought process?
I will give Scott White, my partner and CEO of BizCom, all the credit. I am not a big risk taker. And I had worked for Scott at Hadler White Public Relations, and our swim lane was franchising. Even in those years, we worked with then the Dwyer Group, now Neighborly, lots of franchise organizations. And when we decided to create BizCom, the nice situation we were in is all of our clients came with us. So we weren't starting from ground zero. As Hadler White, we were part of, we were sister agencies with an ad agency, but we didn't really share a lot of the same accounts. People would come to the ad side for advertising services. They would come to BizCon, or they would come to Hadler White for the PR services. Then that ad agency decided to become a satellite office out of Dallas for another ad agency, and all the business was going to go with them. And we just thought, okay, our clients are going to just fall further down on the glorious totem pole because all things are decided by the ad buy, right? And we had a lot of clients that just were with us just for PR. So that's when we decided, you know what, we need to protect our roster. Those that choose to go with us, we'll start BizCom and we'll service that book of business. And everybody came with us. So that was how that decision was made. And lo and behold, in October of this year will be our 25th anniversary.
Congratulations. How has it been expanding since that initial, I guess, launch and that initial client list? What have you done to acquire clients over time?
So I would have to say our biggest success over the years is just creating happy clients, because referrals are really the cornerstone of how we've grown over the years. People have seen what we have done for those brand leaders and those franchisors that are on our roster. And it really is word of mouth. And then we get referrals, and or somebody's putting an RFP up for, out there to look at an agency to service their brands and their organizations. And that's how we add more clients to the roster. I will say too, we've grown over the years. Again, I'll give Scott White this credit, but being part of that ad agency was a real aha moment, because ad agencies are organized where they have account executives, they have creative designers, they have media buyers, they have traffic coordinators. So they bring a full account team to that advertising piece of business. And Scott really wanted to evolve our agency, where if you were a client coming to BizCom, yes, you would have a client relations lead or an account manager. Yes, you would have a media relations expert. Yes, you would have a digital expert. You would have a designer. So we've kind of grown in our divisions that way to service business that was really evolutionary in growing to that next level.
I don't think this would be the case nowadays, but maybe before the acquisition, how often was it the case that somebody would come to you and say, we need PR? And you would say, no, actually, you're asking for marketing or like pure marketing, and we probably won't be a good fit. I know that happens for other PR agencies. Has that been the case for you as well? Or just talk me through that?
So people would often assume PR means press release. We need a press release. Can you send this out for us? We can absolutely do that. And we will do that. And it is a part of the bigger equation. But it really was an educational process, getting them over the hump to understanding that's one piece to the puzzle, but that's not going to solve your overarching issues and get you to where you want to be. So it wasn't that we would turn away business, but we would educate that prospect. And in the journey of becoming a client, I mean, you can look at brands on our roster today, and yes, we do press releases for them, but we do many, many other things for those clients on our roster.
You were talking about having a team of people for each client, and you started off with a roster, which is fantastic. Did you and Scott hire immediately when you started the agency, or at what point did you realize you needed to expand the team?
So in the agency business, you win accounts, you grow your team, right? People can only go so long being a mile wide and an inch deep. And so that's really how any agency grows. I mean, you've got more clients to support, you need more people on the bus. And so that's how we have grown over time. But our hiring was really what has changed over the years. In the early days, I just wanted to hire more people like me. Oh, you had a background in journalism and PR, so you'll fit right in. But again, as the services evolved, those skill sets have evolved over time too. There are people at BizCom now that do things I know nothing about, and we are a better agency because of that.
How did you approach that? I guess you and Scott, I imagine there are skill sets that other people bring to the table, other team members that neither of you really have, or neither of you really want to think about. Um, but I'm always curious about it because if you don't have it yourself, how do you manage and lead it?
Right.
But also, if you did have it, why would you even bother looking for somebody else to do it?
I learned this lesson early on from Dina Dwyer Owens. I've been her publicist for decades. And she taught me that you do not have to be the smartest person in the room, but it's real helpful if you embrace hiring a lot of smart people, smarter than yourselves in several areas. And that's kind of what I've, hitched my wagon to. I love attracting really smart people in their respective areas, and together we are stronger because of it. I don't know how to design websites and write code or, film great day in the life videos and edit those into 30-second wow, you can't take your eyes off it. I don't know any of those things, but together those services make us a better agency. And I love supporting great teams more than anything else.
I want to look at the, I guess, the lifetime of this company, because the last 25 years in the economy in general have been ridiculous in a lot of ways. You start with the tech boom or the internet bubble and burst. You have the Great Recession. You've got, it's not like it was easy between 2010 and 2020, and then you have COVID. Um, what have you seen changed? How have you as an agency helped your clients along the way? This is a massive question, but uh,
It is.
just
There's so much to unpack there.
yeah. But does anything stand out in particular that's maybe that's been a core tenet of yours that you've really seen shine through in a positive way throughout that period, or something that used to work way back in the day that no longer works now?
So, there's a lot to share in answering that question. We've weathered economic storms, but so has the core industry that we support, which is franchising. I mean, you look at where we are right now, and ironically, the economic forecast is saying job growth, more franchise organizations are going to add more locations, all those things. And I tell people every day that I have the best job in the world because I have a front seat to the American dream live and in action. And regardless of the economic swings, there is a core tenet in franchising about being in business for yourself and not by yourself. And so good times and bad, franchising has really been that common thread. There are great brands out there that have weathered huge ups and downs, I mean, we talked about Neighborly, and they've been our longest client. They were a Hadler White client before we even created BizCom, right? When they were just the Dwyer Group, and I say just 5 brands. Now we just say more than 30, you know. But there was a time when that was a publicly traded organization that was under threat of being delisted on the stock exchange. Everything was the dot-com boom and, oh, that Dwyer Group opportunity. And today, I mean, they are a beacon on a hill, right, for franchising. And home services is hotter than ever. And they are, the poster child of good private equity partnerships. And so I would say, yeah, our industry has changed a lot and our business has changed a lot. And there have been economic ups and downs, but we have been in it to win it from day one, and we just work with fabulous clients. There are times when you think you're going to support them in one way or another, and then lo and behold, there's a global pandemic. And our recourse was stop everything that you're doing, and whatever our clients need, we will do it for them. Which ironically, you introduce a crisis and PR kind of moves to the front of the line. But everything that Brand J and BizCom was doing was trying to educate those core audiences of how these businesses were still operating. I hate to use the word pivot, but a lot of them were pivoting how they were operating. But messaging and marketing for those franchisors was more important than ever before.
How do you work with somebody to help them define what that positioning or messaging should be? Are there specific questions you ask, or how do you create that story?
Well, our clients know how to run good businesses. I give them all the credit in the world for how to do contactless service calls or go from restoration to, cleaning services for hospitals and courthouses and first responders. They turned it on a dime in terms of operations. Our role was communicating that message to those core constituencies to know about these services still being up and running and in business. Um, I'm no great inventor of how to reinvent. Oh, you're School of Rock and you're in countries around the world and you're all about in-person, one-on-one music education. No, in little over a week, they went completely remote, put all of their classes online, did incredibly brilliant things like the hottest musicians in the world couldn't tour and play anymore. Okay, we're gonna give you a private audience with our students. Like, it was the coolest thing ever to watch these companies, prove their worth. And I will say too, the the reassurance for me in being in this industry and supporting this industry, franchise organizations survived at a level that mom and pop independent businesses, it was sad to witness those closures forever. There were businesses that were lost forever, but the strength of the franchise business model proved itself over and over again.
Switching gears entirely, talking about you personally. And before we started recording, you made a comment about always learning, having a mindset of always learning and pushing yourself forward. And I know you recently went back in the last few years and got a master's degree. And so I'm curious for a couple of things. One, why get a master's? At this point in your career, clearly you can do whatever you want. And two, what do you typically do or bake into your schedule to continue learning?
Yes. So, actually, I did what a lot of college graduates do, in terms of graduate school. So, when I finished undergrad in the dinosaur age many moons ago, I went to New York City, was my first job after college, and I worked for a publishing company. And then, I was approached to return to Texas and work for Baylor University in the Office of Communications and PR. And, I took that job and relocated back to Texas because I had in my mind, "Oh, well, in order to, achieve my goals and work my way up some corporate ladder, I probably would need an advanced degree." And I don't been a year out of college. So, one thing's for sure, I could do it for free if I took this job. And that's when I started my master's. And I did all the coursework, piecemeal while I was working full time, for my master's degree. And then I met a boy and, got married and followed him and did all those things. And I thought, well, I've done all the classes and I write for a living. How hard could it be? I just need to write my thesis. I'll do that when I get time. And of course, that sat on the back burner forever, you know. And then my career advanced and I just it was one of those bucket list things like, oh, I'm never going to get around to it. Fast forward and then my daughter uh, decided that she wanted to go to Baylor, and she was entering as a freshman, and, I was like, "Wow, I should really finish. I should go back and finish," and I could do it remotely. So she enrolled as a freshman and I enrolled as a graduate student. And last year I did those 2 semesters remotely and researched and wrote a thesis and finally finished. Yeah. But I will tell you one thing, I had this idea that this graduate degree would help me advance in my career, but it was my career that provided the subject matter for my thesis. And studying how mass media covered franchising a small business through the pandemic became the cornerstone of my thesis. And I had so many experts, willing to go on the record for my research. So it was a little bit of a perfect storm how things happened. And I got really good research that the agency can now use. So,
And you also had a front row seat to some pretty great leaders over the
sure.
last 20 years.
Oh, yes. The executives that participated, I mean, everybody from Matt Howler over, all of the IFA through the pandemic to leaders like Mary Thompson and Catherine Munson, JJ Sorrenti, Adam Zaitsev, Craig Sherwood. CEOs, COOs, CDOs, navigating global brands through unprecedented change. It was amazing to watch.
A lot of these people that you have gotten to work with, were they professionals of note when you first met them, or has it more so been that you've all kind of grown together over time, sort of a rising tide lifts all ships approach? Or was it no, they were a rock star and I'm glad I got to learn from them?
I've been blessed with a great roster and learning from great leaders. Um, that being said, there are new and emerging brands and new CEOs over the years that I've been privy to work with and support and learn from. So a little bit of both.
I think I'll end with this question from an entrepreneur's perspective. What's one thing you would recommend to other business owners to take their company to the next level?
So it's probably said too often, but the importance of having mentors and finding mentors, it just can't be overstated enough. I've name dropped some people here already, and I'm a better person because I have learned and watched some of the greatest at what they do. And there's nothing like seeing it in real time to be inspired for what you can do with your own business and your own organization.
I do hear a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people tell me, I hear I'm supposed to get a mentor. How do I do that? So, how do you find a
You
mentor?
ask. You simply ask. You get back. I'm going to say it, drop Dina's name again, but she said, "What's the worst thing somebody can tell you if you ask?" No. Just don't ever be afraid to ask. There are busy people out there in the world. And don't go into it with just wanting them to teach you all things. There needs to be a little bit of some structure. Like, what are 3 things that you want to get out of this? What do you see from me that I could particularly help you with? That way, you're making the most of that time that you have together.
It's great advice. Well, Monica, thank you so much for that and for everything else you shared today.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.